Hello, it's Chris at Body Imbalance and Beat Blood Pressure, and I'm here with part two on basically how to help you interpret your own blood test so that you can actually take some action and understand really what's going on yourself. Now, I've already done a video on looking at red blood cells, so the total red blood cell count, mean cell volume, hemoglobin. So have a look at that. I'll put a link to it. Today is white blood cells. So red blood cells are primarily delivering oxygen, and total white blood cells is all about pretty much your immune system, but also very much related to inflammation, cardiovascular health as well. And your white blood cells and the importance of these numbers is often massively overlooked because unfortunately the numbers that doctors are currently looking at are really pretty much massively out of date, and they're really only looking at sick people as opposed to looking at healthy people. And there's been a lot of science that has actually shown what the healthy numbers truly are. So let's start with the total WBC, the total amount of white blood cells in your serum, in your actual blood circulating. Now, the healthy, well, the range that I think doctors look at is something between about 5 and 11. So this number could be between 5 and 11, and as long as it's in that range, you're okay. But here's the thing. There is research showing that if this number is above 5.5 and certainly above 6.8, it's a huge cardiovascular risk factor, especially for women. So overall, the research is basically saying that basically your total white blood cells should total no more than 6. Now, you've got to bear in mind some things like stress. So if you're going through a really stressful situation, this number could be higher. Number could actually be higher if it's being taken at the end of the day than the beginning of the day. So when you have a white blood cell count test, or when you look at the blood test, it'll actually be good to actually have more than one blood test to look at, but because each one is just a snapshot, especially with the white blood cells. But there are certain things that kind of hold true overall with some of the other numbers. So the total number, so if it's just over 6, I wouldn't be too panicked at the moment. Okay, but let's also have a look. There's also, when you look at the white blood cells, there's also 5 different types of white blood cell. There's the neutrophils. Neutrophils basically help eat bacteria, basically fight bacteria, and they also help eat funguses that shouldn't be there, and they eat up a lot of other crud and rubbish in the body. And what has been shown, if the total white blood cell count is high and the neutrophil count is higher than normal, then this is an indicator of what's called endothelial disease and peripheral artery disease. So think blood pressure. And the reason these go high are various reasons, like there could be some bacterial, there could be some inflammation in the arteries. And neutrophils, basically the way they're produced, they end up using up a lot of what's called your nitric oxide, and you need nitric oxide to dilate your blood vessels. So if high WBC, high neutrophils, and you've got high blood pressure, you've probably found a cause of your high blood pressure you need to look after, which is looking after your immune system. And now, as well as total numbers, and really, if your neutrophils go over a certain number, so there should be a maximum of 50 to 60%, because there's also ratios. And sometimes you may find the percentages written on. If you don't find the percentages written on, go and calculate them. So whatever the number is here, so basically divide this by this and you'll get the percentage of neutrophils. So your neutrophils should be 50 to 60% of the total. Your lymphocytes, which are there to fight viruses, for instance, and by the way, lymphocytes fight viruses lowered by stress. So if you're the sort of person that likes to watch lots of news and get stressed out and panicked and fearful, that's going to decrease your lymphocytes and it's going to decrease your ability to fight viruses. So if you're someone that's afraid of all the viral news, stop watching the news. And it's going to help your immune system work better. Your lymphocytes should be about 30 to 35%. Okay. Monocytes, again, they're involved in viruses, but it's also involved in a number of other processes around the body as well. That should be no more than about 7%. I'm just going to speak about the viral side of things today. Eosinophils, these are related to allergic reactions, helping to bring down histamine reactions, and have also been related to parasites. Some of these are also related to autoimmune disorders like gut problems like Crohn's disease and ulcerative colitis as well. So this should be no higher than 3%. And your basophils, these are things that actually create and actually contain lots of histamines and inflammatory reactive chemicals and make you itch. And so there's a reason why your body makes them. And they should be no more, they should definitely be under 1%. Okay, so under 1%, under 3%, under 7%, 30 to 35%, 50 to 60%. So if you've got, and so this works out that, you know, if your number is 6 neutrophils, that's about, you know, 3.4-ish. Your lymphocytes should be no more than about 2. Monocytes should be no longer, shouldn't be very high at all. What should monocytes be? Absolute monocytes, no more than about 0.4. And then eosinophils, no more than 0.15. And basophils, we're talking about a really tiny amount. Like, so basically, if you see your neutrophils are more than 3.4, you know they're high. If your lymphocytes are higher than 2, you know they're high. If your monocytes are higher than 0.4, you know they're high. But the percentages can help tell us a lot more as well. So if your neutrophil percentage is greater than 60%, you probably have a bacterial infection or some kind of inflammation in your arteries, or bacterial infection in your body. If your lymphocytes are above 35%, you probably have a virus. Now, if your lymphocytes and your neutrophil numbers are actually quite close together, so it's 2 and 2, or 2.5 and 2.5, then this has been shown that you may actually have an autoimmune condition happening. So look out for your lymphocytes actually being higher or close to your neutrophils. Then your monocytes, again, that can be related to viruses if it's over 7%, and eosinophils if it's over 3%, various things. It could be parasites, all kinds of gut stuff happening, allergies, food reactions, reactions to environmental pollutants as well. Basophils related to allergic reactions and all kinds of other bits and pieces as well around the body, but general inflammation. But generally, if you see any of these high, can generally be a sign of some kind of inflammation in the body without other inflammation markers being high. In fact, some of these markers are much better to tell for inflammation in the rest of your body than anything else. Now, I'll put a red mark here against eosinophils, because if your total white blood cell count is high and your eosinophil percentage is high, or this is high, it's actually an early warning sign of atherosclerosis. So that's heart disease, that's cardiovascular disease. So you really do want to be looking at what these percentages and numbers are and make sure your doctor knows what some of these things actually mean. Also, what we found out about eosinophils, if your eosinophils are high and your HDL, that's your good cholesterol, if your good cholesterol is high and your eosinophils are high, this is related to perhaps biliary cirrhosis. So your bile duct, so your liver goes into your gallbladder, then your bile duct goes into your bowels. And so if your biliary tract is actually undergoing cirrhosis, that's a bad sign for your health generally. Again, total white blood cell count being above 6 can be fatty liver disease, so it can indicate that your liver's a problem. There's a whole range of different things that your white blood cell count can actually tell you about. If monocytes, eosinophils and basophils are all sort of higher, but these are okay, might be related to mycotoxins, so toxins from different funguses and molds in your body. Some have indicated that some might be related more to heavy metal toxicity of some kind. If everything's really low, it's like these are really low, it can be, if this is really low, so under about 3, I think, but these are highest, then you could have a chronic virus. If all this is low but this is high, then you could have a chronic bacterial infection. There's so many different things that you can actually find out by actually understanding what these numbers really mean and realizing that your total white blood cell count really shouldn't be above 6. And certainly if it's 7, 8, 9, that's really high. It's a sign that there's a lot of inflammation in your system. So I hope you find that useful. Again, this is a basic look. You can actually, there's some great websites. Is it Health Online that tells you all about neutrophils and lymphocytes and monocytes and eosinophils and actually the disease processes and things that they might be related to if they're actually really high, much higher than these ranges. So, I mean, if they're really out, and if they're really out, then your doctor should be seeing it anyway, but it's good to go and check yourself just in case. So again, I hope you find this useful, because this can really help unwind and find the cause of your pain, find the cause of your blood pressure, all kinds of different things. If you want help interpreting yours, then of course reach out, go to beatbloodpressure.com, fill out one of the contact forms, or go to bodyandbalanceuk.com, fill out the contact form. I'll put some links below as well. Reach out. I'm Chris at Beat Blood Pressure and Body and Balance. As ever, live long and prosper with magnificent health.